Morning guys, it's Osian here from Ingot RC Experience. It's 8 AM in the morning and it's a beautiful day. And we all know what that means. Time to run in the Savage. Yeah. Can't believe how nice of a day it is. Absolutely beautiful. Lovely, lovely. Always lifts the spirits in these turbulent times, guys, with that coronavirus. It's just nice to be out, see some blue sky and do some RC. Gotta love the daffodils. Symbolic Welsh flower. Beautiful stuff. Let's get on with it. Okay, so we're going to need a couple of things to get the ball rolling with this. First thing we need is the car. Check. Transmitter. Check. Rotor start. Check. Fuel and fuel bottle. Check. Heat gun and engine heater. Check. Temperature gauge and glow igniter. Check. Cross wrench and spare glow plug. Check. And last but not least, 3-in-1 oil and a tuning flathead screwdriver. Okay, so here it is, guys. Just giving you a once over before we get on with the braking process. You can see here everything I've just outlined to you. There it is. Nice. It's always good to have a spare glow plug. This was kindly given to me in the package for this car by HPI, so that's a really great feature. It's always good to have a spare, especially in the braking process. The fuel mixture is so rich it can potentially foul the glow plug, so it's always good to have a spare, guys. Okay guys, so before we get started with this, I have done a few things in preparation before we actually put fuel into the car and start this thing up. Okay, I put my AA's in my transmitter. I put a 1600 milliamp fully charged hump pack receiver pack in my car, so that's all ready to go. I've set my end points on my car as well. That's something you can look up in the manual, but it's basically you pop the little flathead tool provided with this transmitter, put it into the appropriate channels, and you can set your endpoints, the maximum and minimum throws of your servos for both throttle and steering to limit unnecessary stress and strain on your servos. Longer life. Hey. Okay, so we get our fuel out of the bottle. There we go. Get a good amount in there because it's actually quite a large fuel tank on this car. Yeah, that should be enough for the time being. Always pop the cap back on the fuel, guys, just to stop it from fouling. And seeing as it's such a beautiful sunny and hot day, I'm going to put this in the shade where it doesn't foul. Okay, nice one. Okay, so next, before I even prime this vehicle, I'm going to get the glow plug out using my cross wrench. I'm going to check if everything is okay with that with my glow igniter. you want to look out for a nice red hot glow. And then I'm going to pop some 3-in-1 oil into the cylinder head just to get some oil in there before I turn it over. It's always good to do that with new engines. Maybe 5 to 6 drops, that should do the trick. Here we go guys, nice red hot. Okay, so before I put the glow plug back into the car, to the engine, I'm going to apply some heat to the engine. Try and get the temps up to 80 and 90 degrees. That's between 180 and 200 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to turn the engine over with my rotor start without the glow plug in, just to get the piston going with the 3-in-1 oil. So let's get cracking guys. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm using my girlfriend's hairdryer. I just remembered I put this plastic cage on my on the car. If I use the heat gun, it'd probably be too hot for that, so I don't want to melt those plastics. I'm just going to use this for the time being. Should do the trick. So you have the choice of using either the heat gun / hairdryer, or you have the more portable option of using a engine heater with a LiPo battery. This can be a good alternative out on the field if you're trying to break in an engine in the winter. They're super useful, as you can leave the engine heater on the engine at all times, as well as applying heat through a heat gun. It is a good piece of equipment to have, but it's not a necessity really. Judging by how hot it is today, I don't think I'll be needing this in this particular case. Okay, so after applying some heat to the engine, get my rag, I put my rotor start in. Okay, that's ready to go, and I'm going to turn the engine over for the very first time with the glow plug off to get rid of the excess 3-in-1 oil. Okay, that's great stuff. And I'm going to put my glow plug back in. Just make sure you've got a nice little pinch on there, not too tight, not too loose. Very good. I'm just going to position my, make sure that your flywheel is at bottom dead center. And I'm going to apply some more heat again, and then we're going to put the glow plug in, get this primed up and get this started guys. Okay, so I'm just going to prime it now. This is the way I prime my engines. I just blow through the back pressure fuel line. Okay, so as soon as you see nitro fuel entering the carb, you can stop there. I usually blow just for one more second, just to make sure that it's really gone in. Okay, so the engine is now primed. Very good. The temperature is good. I'm just going to turn the engine over a few times just to get the fuel lubricated. Okay. Put the transmitter on. Okay, so make sure everything works perfectly. I'm going to put the trim up slightly just to get a little bit of just to help with the RPMs. The carb settings are preset fine. It's going to be super rich. Both settings, low speed and high speed needles, are flush, so they're going to be extremely rich. So we need slightly more RPMs to keep the engine running for the time being. Okay, so glow plug in, and let's fire this sucker up. Okay guys, so it's been running for about 10 minutes or so now. We're about half a tank through. Not gonna lie to you, it wasn't the easiest startup, first startup I've ever had. There was a lot of faffing around. The engine seemed to flood all the time. I'm not sure if it's the type of fuel I'm using. It didn't seem to respond well to that to begin with. It's a good fuel, but it is a race fuel. So I had to fiddle about with the needle settings for a little bit. And I managed to get it in the end. That was just down to my experience, I suppose. They do recommend in the manual a HPI fuel. So I'm not sure if that would have made any difference to the ease of starting the engine up, but you know, it seems to be running really well now. It's nice and rich, loads of oil coming out, and I've got the RPMs nice and high to keep it from stalling, obviously because of the rich setting. Yeah, it's running at a comfortable 230 degrees Fahrenheit or 110 degrees, which is a really good temperature. It's actually an optimum temperature, and that, you know, that's a really good sign. So guys, I'll keep you updated. Okay guys, so that was a very successful first tank of the braking process. You can see stupid rich. Look, there's like a reservoir of oil there, but that's a really good sign. The temps were really good, very consistent throughout. I managed to keep them between 100 and 110 degrees, so it never went over 230 degrees Fahrenheit, which is good, and I managed to keep it at that optimum temperature through the use of my heat gun, which I've got on the floor there, contrary to what I said earlier, the hairdryer just couldn't get the heat up. The intensity of the heat wasn't enough. I was just very careful with that not to melt the plastics, but that worked extremely well. To be honest, keeping the temperature up was difficult by the end, because as the engine was bedding in for the first tank, it was losing heat very quickly, surprisingly, and very often I had to get my heat gun out to bring the temperature back up to what it needed to be, because that's the optimum temperature. That combined with this really good rich setting should lead to a nicely running engine eventually. Okay, so according to the HPI manual, we need to do one other tank on the bench here, just idling nicely, and then we should be good to go for taking it on the road and do some nice slow driving. So let's do it. So guys, I'm going to try and make sure that I heat cycle this engine. So between each tank of fuel, make sure you allow the engine to cool down fully before moving on to the next tank. Okay, so make sure to heat up your engine again between tanks, guys. Got my heat gun. Get this baby hot. Our temps. So about 200 degrees there, just under 200 degrees. So let's maybe prime the engine just a tiny bit. Okay, just a tiny bit. Pop the rotor start tool back on. Put the glow. And I'm going to just bring the, I'm just going to move the throttle servo a tiny bit just to open the idle gap a little bit more, because it's at a very rich setting at the moment. Okay, I haven't turned on my transmitter yet, there's been no need to. Okay, so just keep that there when you need it for. There we go, let's give this a little whirl again, shall we? Okay, let's see. Okay guys, there's a lot of fuel coming out of that pipe at the moment. I'm going to need to clean it out to stop the engine from building up too much back pressure so that it stalls. So I'm going to do that now. Guys, that's a lot of oil. Okay, so tank 2 is done. I've just refilled the tank for tank 3. This time we're going to be actually running the car on the ground for the very first time. So we will need to be putting our radio on and our receiver on. Nice, everything seems to be working well. Very good. Okay, so preheat the engine as we have been doing for tank 1 and 2. Get this thing started and let's get it on the ground. This is going to be quarter to half throttle runs for 2 to 3 second bursts at a time. Get that baby primed. Remember guys, get it up to the running temperature, and that is between 220 to 240 degrees Fahrenheit. That's roughly 110 to 115 degrees. Give that a quick check. Okay, so that's almost 200 degrees now. That should be a good starting point for us. Let's get this in here then. Let's put that on. Leave that for a few seconds. I'm going to turn up the throttle, trim just a tad, and then let's see what we can do. Okay guys, so just did the third tank there, that went very well. The temps were a little bit on the low side, but that's to be expected as it's still extremely rich, and you've got the added airflow on the engine, so it's bound to happen. but they were not catastrophically low. So fourth tank now, basically the same as the third tank. You can be a bit more generous with your use of throttle. I usually do 50% to 100% bursts, 3 to 4 second runs, full throttle runs, and I also make use of my my tuning needle now. I do a little bit of leaning out of the low speed and the high speed, just a tad, just to get the temps up a little bit and to get a little bit more performance out of the car. This tank is by no means crazy bashing. This is just still part of the braking procedure. You still have to be very methodical in your use of throttle. Don't blast it straight away, you know, be very careful in the way you apply your throttle. So not, you know, not like that, just nice and slow, and then bring it to a stop, and then once again 3 to 4 second bursts. And then the fifth tank is when you can start really being a lot more generous with your use of throttle, and to get more of a tune on this engine, to get it up to more of what it's capable of. Yeah, don't forget, you need to heat your engine again for this final braking tank. You should really do it as common practice before every run anyway. some 3-in-1 oil in here. Move the piston a few times over just to circulate that oil. Okay, once the piston is at bottom dead center and you put your 3-in-1 oil in, put your glow igniter back in the engine, give it a little bit of a clean. It's got a bit of carbon on it and oil. Give that a clean, put it back in, and you should be ready to go for next time. Okay guys. Guys, so that's tank 4 done. That's the final tank in the braking procedure. You could see the engine starting to show its true colours towards the end there of that tank. I started to get a decent bass tune on it to get not only the temps up but to increase its performance, and it was performing really well. It was idling well, the temps were good, and it was starting to show some serious power, which is fantastic. The sun is sadly going down. It's been a beautiful day and a super productive day of breaking in this awesome king of nitro, and that concludes my running video with a beautiful sunset. Guys, try to stay positive in these turbulent times. Try to get yourself out there. Always do something that makes you smile at least once a day. Please like and subscribe. You don't have to, but considering I've been doing this all day, it would be nice. Anyway, guys, have a great day, and see you soon. Bashing vid coming soon.